it's a good place. It's a good time. It's a really good time to buy. Now, I did a really long video on QANX and I don't think I got anywhere. So what I decided to do was to spend some more time on QANX on my own, just thinking about it, just kind of contemplating it. Really, it was a tricky analysis because do you know why it's so tricky? And actually, this is my analysis. I'm going to hide it actually because I don't want you to see it. It's really tricky because when you do it live, you don't know what you're going to find. Does it make sense? And so you're just looking for stuff. You're looking for stuff to do. You're like, look, this is the QANX chart. Like, what the fuck? How do I start analyzing that? And you don't know. You just can't start drawing lines, and you start using your tools and trying to see what you see, and you start drawing trend lines, and you're looking at the candles, you're looking at the Elliot Wave moves, the impulsive moves and the corrections and the timings, and you're trying to find something. You're trying to discover something that is not always obvious. Yeah. And I've kind of pivoted between this and that with QANX. Honestly, a lot of the time I've been right. Yeah, I do remember a lot of my analysis on QANX, and so many times I've been right. And interestingly enough, we're still going sideways, and this is kind of what I've been saying since the beginning. QANX launch, that was the launch price, that was basically the high. And if you look at where the price is now, look at where we are. We're going horizontal, aren't we? Yeah, we've been going horizontal. I think it's a bit frustrating for a lot of people because they want pump, they want pump, they want pump, but ultimately this is just as good because at least we're not going down to zero. Yeah, some tokens after they launch, they go down, don't they? And so while on QANX you haven't lost value, really you haven't, if you've just been accumulating a multi-year range, in other tokens people are like looking at their portfolio and thinking, shit, I bought here and I'm down 100%, 99%. Do you know what I mean? Like if we started following a downward channel like this, like let's say that came up and it couldn't get up and it just went down like that, and then the price just went down, and then it just did this, and then the same time frame we'd be here, wouldn't we? Probably underneath that low, and you'd be looking at your portfolio wherever your average is. You'd be going, shit, I'm 98% down on my portfolio. The community would be dead. People would have left, and there'd be no hope and optimism for the future. And it may still be a really nice bullish chart because you could still, out of a downward chart like that, you could still break out and just pump all the way up to the highs in 2 days or whatever. Crypto is crazy like that. You know that. Everyone knows that. Okay. But actually that hasn't happened. What's happened is that the price of QANX has gone literally sideways. Yeah. And you have a deviation from the range. That's a deviation. Okay. So let me, my undo always bugs out, so I'm gonna have to just refresh this again. Sorry, TradingView has this bug. Oh, it's gone back to TRVL as well. So let me just kind of go back to the QANX chart. And I'm only focusing on the chart this stream. I'm not even looking at some of the fundamentals. I'm just focusing on the technicals of this chart. I'm just explaining to you what's happening on this chart. Okay. So let me just draw it out for you so you can really understand what's going on. Okay. And that will help you and give you a little bit of confidence maybe about the future. That's your launch price low. That's your launch price high, isn't it? And actually it's much higher, a little bit higher, and I'll explain why in a second. Let me just mark it out with a white line. I'll call it SFP, but I'll rename it. No, I'll just leave it as SFP. But it's not. I should be SR flip actually. Where's SR flip? SR flip. Okay. And actually, this lower SR flip is correct, isn't it? You can see. You can clearly see that there was an SR flip here. Why? Because you have resistance, then you have the flip, and you have the test, haven't you? So there's a very definitive SR flip on this launch price, this QANX, Quan Platform Gate IO launch price, isn't it? You can see that. Okay. The price hasn't managed to go up to the top of the launch. It's only managed to go be bound in some kind of higher time frame, lower high, higher low formation, hasn't it? That's what it looks like. Yeah, which is also good, because when you're making higher lows, it means there's buyers are coming in slightly higher, but also you're making lower highs. It means people aren't holding for higher, they're selling slightly lower, but they're buying back slightly higher. And that's what you're seeing right now. People are selling slightly lower, but they're buying back slightly higher. Okay. And so this is a classic accumulation range over a period of 4 years from when the token was launched. That's what's happening, right? Very simple to explain, very easy to understand. Okay. So that's the context of where we're at now. And obviously people are thinking to themselves, well, it'd be more bullish if we are pushing into the highs. We should be just pushing into the highs, pushing, just. And I like that too. I honestly think it is more bullish to push into the highs, but only after a breakout. We haven't broken out yet. So that's something really important to consider. Context is key. We haven't broken out yet. And so therefore, only after a breakout do you want the price, because that's when people are bullish. That's when you want to see high consolidation to break out higher. That's when you get the bullish consolidation. When you haven't broken out yet, you don't get that. That's really that simple. So when I did an analysis 3 days ago, I was still unsure about whether this was an impulsive move or not. This refund, this one-to-one refund. I wasn't sure. Like, it's hard to be sure, because the thing is, what I was saying is, if this is an impulse here, then we've been in, and if that was the second impulse, so what I was saying, if that was the first impulse, that's wave 1. This can't be a wave 3 because the price comes underneath the top of wave 1, so it can't be a wave 3. So it has to be another wave 1 of 3. If it's a wave 1 of 3, then we should have had the next wave 3, 4, 5. We should have had the continuation like that, which we didn't have. Okay, realistically, that's how it should have gone. Okay, and it didn't happen like that. And we gave it enough time and it just wasn't doing what we wanted. Yeah. And so therefore, what I'm thinking to myself is, this wasn't an impulsive wave in the context of a wave 1, 3, or 5. It's a corrective wave. Okay, it's a corrective wave. And if that's a corrective wave, then it changes things. Okay, even though that impulse hasn't been invalidated, to invalidate it, you have to take up low. So technically, it could still be an impulsive wave, but it doesn't feel like it, because if it was impulsive, it only lasted a period of 6 or 7 weeks. Why are we now correcting after the first impulse for a period of 1 year and 2 months? It makes no sense to impulse, and it's not a big percentage impulse. It's like, what is it, 200%? It's not big. Yeah, a 200% increase in, or 300 and no more, 400% increase in value doesn't lead to a 1 year and 2 month sideways movement correction. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah. So then I'm doubting that as an impulsive move, just because this whole correction here doesn't make sense after you have that initial impulse. It just, for me, it doesn't work. Like, logically, I can't see it. All right. So I'm just now imagining that isn't an impulse, and neither is that. It's impulsive, but it's impulsive in the corrective sense, not impulsive in the impulsive sense. Okay. If that makes any sense. So the next question is, was this an impulse? Okay, and it looks really impulsive, but it wasn't an impulse in the classic sense of an impulse. Usually in an impulsive move, the market is buying because they're really bullish and they just want the price to go up, and it's just continuous buying. In this, we don't really get that. It's a refund. It's a one-to-one refund on the bridge hack, which ends up in the price gapping and then falling, going back into the range. It is increasing volume, which is good. So that's how I like that it's increasing volume. I also like that the pullback is decreasing volume. You can see that. Okay. So it means that people bought, the volume that came in took the price higher and higher. That was healthy. And then the pullback was healthy too. Is that an impulse? That's the question. It's the $1 million question, because it could impact everything. Yeah. Because if that isn't an impulse, then we haven't impulsed at all. We're just in a sideways correction, and that's just some kind of bizarre anomaly. Or that was the first wave, and we are now, after the first wave, we are in a sideways range of X amount of years, and actually it's coming up to 2 years almost in September. So we're shy of 2-year correction now, shy of a 2-year correction on this first wave. But this is plausible, and let me tell you why it's plausible. Because the correction is, sorry, the impulse here is a healthy almost 4,000%. When you get a 4,000% impulsive move, however it forms, you do expect a long correction, because that's quite a large increase in value, regardless of how the increase of value came about. Okay. And so actually a 2-year correction, which is actually a sideways correction, it's a flat correction after a 4,000% increase in value from the pivot low, makes perfect sense. Yeah. And then the invalidation is actually much lower. It's here, is where the initial impulse began. So even if the price was to go down and take these lows, it wouldn't matter, because that's the invalidation of the first wave. This is all a sideways correction. Okay, I'm just kind of putting context that if shit happens and we were to take these lows, it wouldn't actually necessarily matter in the context of Elliot waves. Okay, I don't expect it, but you know, shit happens. Who knows, right? So then I was kind of thinking to myself, and then what next? Well, I created some price discovery horizontal channels a while back, yeah. And the way I did that wasn't on this top SR flip here. It wasn't on this launch price here. I just ignored that. What I did was I based it from the pivot low here, which is the all-time low, to the all-time high, and the all-time high that I used. And so this is what I wanted to kind of analyze. If you go to CoinMarketCap and you have a look at QANX, you get a different figure in the all-time high, etc. So let me just show you. If you didn't notice that, I'll go to CoinMarketCap and I'll go to Gecko. Okay, it naturally goes to my token of choice, TRVL. I have to change it to QANX. Apologies. That's fine. Everyone understands that I'm a TRVL maniac. You see on CoinGecko, it says all-time high November 27th at 0.2034, and that's CoinGecko too. CoinMarketCap. All-time high January the 18th 22 0.38. So there's a big difference in reported values and timings. I have no idea about this one. I'm actually thinking to myself, probably this one, yeah. And it's hard because I can't see this on the chart, 0.2034. So the only way to do this is to go to the chart and use that value, and that's what I originally did. So what I originally did to create these channels is I don't know. Let me just make sure the figures are correct. 0.2034. Let me do it again. Zero point 2034. How did I do this? I have to remember. I'm just trying to remember. Hold on. All right, let me just delete these. Actually, let me just delete these and start over, because that'll be a lot easier. That's the one. there is it, 0.0234, and all the way to that low there, that pivot low. Okay, so I'm basing it on the CoinGecko reported all-time high. Now here the all-time low says that figure. I just need to check that figure to see how that corresponds to this. Does it correspond? That says 4.2 there. It's just so hard because I just don't know. I do see something here though. I just see how the price, the mid channel here works. Do you see that? So just based on that range, now you could, like, you argue you could just take it to there. Maybe that would be better. Just ignore the data on the CoinGecko and just have it from top to bottom there. And actually maybe this is better because you get, like, see that? So there is a little kind of support here at the midpoint. Kind of like, I'm not 100%. That's what CoinGecko reports. And so it's weird because on CoinGecko, you get the second one. Look, you get it there. And you get a little bit of there. So it's a tricky one. I'm not 100%. Let's just go with the one that CoinGecko says for now. There's not much difference in it. Okay, but it can make a difference. And then what you do is you'll draw channels. You draw more channels. And you do exactly the same thing. So effectively what you're doing is you're splitting them into halves. Like that. Like that. And like that. So you clone them, huh? And that gives you price discovery channels. How do we know that works? Well, because you see here, the midpoint is resisting, and look at that perfect touch. And look at that perfect touch. So there is something going on in the midpoint of these channels, and these are horizontal channels. Now, I'm just using the data based off the all-time high to this original pivot low here on this chart. And I'm using cloned channels to create these price discovery channels. Okay, that's all I'm doing. And for me, this is probably the easiest way to find price discovery targets. Or support and resistance levels in price discovery. And that's kind of really where I was initially going with this analysis to begin with. Like, remember, I wanted to find out how high this could go. But ultimately, when you're in price discovery, it's very hard to know where to find support and resistance. So initially, I think this is a really easy way to find your key support resistance lines. I'm using the log scale. So actually, you know, the higher you go up, that's like 350%. But if you go up to the next one, it's 2000%. Yeah. Then you go up to the next one, it's like 12,000%. So actually it's quite a big range, but on the log chart, it looks very balanced. But on the normal chart, it's like, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So the higher, you know, so it's not bad. So I did that and I put that in my folder, call it price discovery channels. There. If you remember, I did this. I'll do it again so you can see. So that was quite interesting. I did that. And then what I wanted to see is, was that first impulse an impulse? This was a question. It was an unanswered question. And so I'm going to try and answer it now. And this is what's interesting about the move on this move here. It's like you really have to kind of like imagine that this was this one day, it was the first wave. This 1 day green here was the first wave. This next day was the third wave. And then you have a slightly flat correction. You have a fifth wave there. And actually, that's basically, that does make sense. In a bizarre way, you have 5 waves over a very, very short period of time. And it's very difficult to see. Effectively, what I'm looking at is wave 1. No correction, just a gap. Wave 3. And wave 5. Something like that. Like a up, up, up. With wave 3, in this context, being, let me see, the biggest, which makes sense as well. So the rules aren't, so I am still looking at a wave 1 here. Like, this is kind of what I was just trying to see. Is this a wave 1? And then are we just in a sideways corrective pattern after that first initial wave? And I just wanted to see if that was true. And how do you know? Well, this is what I did. This is what I did. I'm not 100%, yeah? I'm never 100%, so just kind of bear with me. I did a fib extension, and I'll redo it for you now so you can see. So first thing I did was I tried to map out the correction just based on the end of wave 1. And so A, B, C to form your W. A, B, C to form your X. And an A, B, C to form your Y. That's the first thing I did. That would be a WXY. So that's like correction is over. The timing is correct because we're now, it feels like we're about to go into bull market mode, bull season, alt season mode. Then the timings. And so I drew, based on this kind of new corrective pattern that I created, yeah, I did a trend-based fib, very simple one. And I'll show you. I just did it from this point here, WX, from the X to the Y. And I don't know why, but when I did it the first time, it gave me the correct. See that? And bizarrely, the 618 comes at exactly the pivot low where the correction should end and where you get the first impulsive move there. Just from these 2 pivots here, from here to there, the 618 on this time pivot comes exactly with the first impulse, which is at the end of June. It's timed correctly. I like the timings, and that's kind of what I was looking for, some timings to confirm this first impulsive move, and based on, and for this corrective move to be over. It was very tricky to come up with that, because you can use different variations and go to different time frames, and they kind of give you different pivots basically. So we could take that one to this one to that one. See, that gives you different pivots. None of them work. None of them are valid. You could go from the original impulse to where? To 1 to 2. That doesn't work either because it's so short. It just gives you lots of lines. So that one to this one, that doesn't work. None of them really work. I mean, this one does work in a sense that the 1 to 2, you see, that's a 1 to 2, gave you the top. That was really nice. So there is some symmetry in fib time. Okay. And now I just wanted to see if I could find something that lined up there, and it does. It's from this pivot here to there, and then this is the 618. 618 lands there. So it does give me a little bit of hope that maybe this is a good pivot. So there was a kind of a little bit of a lining here. I don't mind this low because we do take out the lows here. Yeah, I don't mind it so much. And then you have a kind of impulsive move out of those lows back into this kind of a little bit of a failed auction back into this triangle. And based on that timing and the pivot, it's nice. and maybe the correction is over because you have an ABC type move here. And so that's something else you can do. Also, you can kind of try, but again, let's see, it's a 1 to 2. Let's see, it's a 1 to 2. See that? That's your 1 to 1, that first white line, and the second white line is a 1 to 2. So it means that's your 1 and that's your 2. So it took twice as long, but it comes in perfectly at the 1 to 2 of this ABC type maneuver. So it does line up quite nicely on this ABC, this red ABC at the end. Does that make sense? So I do like that. And then the other thing I wanted to check was, let's say that is the bottom of the 2, but let's say the wave 1 has started now, and this was the wave 1 and this is the wave 2. Maybe this is the wave 3. So the 1 of the 3 has started. Then can we get a target? Again, I'm just focusing on the targets. I'm really focused on targets. So let's just start it here with the impulse here with the bottom of this green candle. That's where the impulse began. You take it to the top of where the 1, which is where the impulse ended, and you bring it to the bottom of the 3, or where the 2 ends, which is where the next impulse begins. Okay, so it's a trend-based fib. And lo and behold, the 618 comes in at 0.20773. That's the 618. And when I bring my price discovery channels in, that is the reported all-time high on CoinGecko. And I know that horizontal line works because these midpoints are working. The midpoints are working. You can clearly see that the midpoint, based on those horizontals, gave us reactions here. Oops. Here and here. That's how I know that one is good. Okay, just based on the price reacting. So it's quite an interesting target, isn't it? The 618 of this move is our first target, which is the reported all-time high on CoinGecko. So what does that mean? That's your first target, literally. Like, even if anyone had any doubt, then I think I've alleviated the doubt, or maybe I've alleviated the doubt a little bit, that is going to be clearly the first target in the up move, the next up move. Now, potentially we've started the move. Now, it's hard to know because the volume is still poor and I really want to see higher volume. But you see we've reacted really nicely off this this midpoint again. So once that breaks, and here what we're forming now is a little bit of a very nice corrective pattern, like a flag. We're flagging, aren't we? So we're in a little bit of a flag. It feels like maybe wave 1 is complete. Maybe this is your wave 1. And now we're correcting. And it's a flag. That's what it feels like. It's hard to draw this wave 1 because this first impulse is very minimal. It's like the first one was here, 1, ABC. Then you have your 3 with a running flat, and then you have your 5. That's basically what it looks like. So just to show you what it looks like, it's like this. You have your 1 there, ABC, there's your 3, whatever. Then you have a running flat, of sorts, and you have a 5, something like that. So you have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's your first impulsive move, all right? Right up into that resistance point. And now we're correcting. This is a correction, isn't it? That's what that first wave looks. So I think the first wave in this context is over. That looks to me like a correct wave right there. It looks good. And now what we're looking is for a wave 3. Wave 3's in this context should be a big wave, because it's not just the wave 3, and it's the wave 3 of 3. Yeah, assuming that was your 1. This is going to be the wave 1 of 3. The next one should be a wave 3 of 3. Now, the tricky thing is we don't know how far it's going to go. We have no idea. I know based on these fib extensions that this level, the all-time high, is definitely going to be a big resistance level, just because of these horizontal price channels that I've created. And I know that they're being respected, and it's the all-time high. And it lines up perfectly with a 618 from the 0 to the 1 to the 2 that I've drawn. And so I really do think, I don't know when we're going to get there, but I do really do think that whatever happens, the all-time high is going to act as a strong area of resistance. Now, looking at volume is really important, because if you suddenly get a high volume push through a big resistance level, who cares if that's a resistance level? The volume's coming. Yeah, we have to see the volume. We have, like right now when I'm looking across this multi-year range, I can see really abysmal volume, really poor volume, which tells me that the price is just going sideways. Yeah, but if you start getting increasing volume pushing through that level like that, like a real nice break, yeah, then actually you break it in the next wave, and then what you're looking for is a corrective wave which finds support back on that level for an SR flip for another wave to take us much higher to higher prices. And in my imagination, the 1-to-1 here is at about 85 cents. That horizontal midpoint is about 94.5 cents. I think a lot of people are beginning aiming for $1, but actually I think probably starting at 85 cents will be where you start hitting resistance, anywhere between 85 and 95 cents. I think a lot of people are going to be caught out because they're waiting for $1. And I think a lot of people are going to be taking their profit much sooner. Yeah. From here to my first target there, it's already 2,400% increase in value at 85 cents. Why would you wait for $1 when you can already take like if you wait for $1, sure, you can squeeze out a little bit more, but the reality is there's more risk to the downside when you start hitting these big resistance levels on fibs in price discovery, when people have already held on for such a long time. They've held on for such a long time, and if they're able to hold past this all-time high, then naturally they'll be looking to take profit at, I think, 85 cents, and they may not be waiting for $1. Yeah, so a lot of people might be caught off guard because they're waiting for $1. Honestly, I think next time pivot here is the 1-to-1, which is somewhere towards the end of October, and then obviously you have the next time pivot base. I don't know how these time pivots are going to play out, because honestly on time pivots I'm not 100% sure on QANX. I just know that the 618 from this X to the Y landed perfectly on this initial impulse, and so maybe then this next, by the 3rd week of October, I wouldn't mind if this topped in a meaningful way, and then we'd have to see where it tops. Yeah, and so what you're looking for a wave 3 is your first wave. Let's just say we've had it. Now we're looking for another free impulsive wave, like a wave 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be another wave 1, ABC. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be a wave 3, ABC, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, like something like that. Maybe that's too ambitious. This is going to be bullish, consolidating above the all-time high, and then another push type thing for your wave. So basically what I'm looking for in this wave 3 is 3 distinct waves, not just like this. Like the wave 1, I'm just looking at just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ends. But for the wave 3, I'm actually looking for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 correction, 1, 2, 3, 5 correction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what I'm looking for. 3 distinct waves like that. And then you have your final wave, which is a correction, and you have your last kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's game over. Okay, so I'm actually looking for something like this. Next wave, I'm looking for 3 distinct moves separate from each other to formulate the whole of the wave 3. So it's a little bit more profound, it's a little more defined, and it's a little bit longer than what we've seen before, because up till now what we've seen before has been really quick moves, hasn't given people a chance to decide whether they want to take profit or exit or whatever. But I think the next one, that's what we're looking for, and we're looking for volume. Now a lot of people are telling me, well, when the main net comes in, everything changes, lots of volume going to come in. If you have less than $10 as your price target, you're an idiot. Maybe, Who knows? No one really knows. No one can predict that. Yeah. And the only thing that we can do is look at the volume. And if you suddenly see volume, then that changes things a lot. Yeah, that changes everything. Yeah, because I'm just looking at conservative first targets, first points of areas of resistance and support, so to speak. But sure, volume can make a difference. And so I just want to see volume. Like if I don't know, no one really knows. No one can predict that. Okay. If we do manage to go up to 85 cents, yeah, from where we are now, bro, that's like a 2,300% increase in value. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. 80 cents. That means if you have, let me work it out. I mean, if you have 1 million QANX tokens, that's $800,000. Most people, if they had 1 million tokens, they would take healthy profit at that price. That's why you need volume, because people will start taking profit. People will start selling. Yeah. And right now, when you look in the chart, the volume is low across the board. Yeah. So if there's not enough volume to keep on carrying it up, then you're going to get really strong pullbacks. And then all of a sudden people are going to panic because, oh, we hit 80 cents. No one took profit because they were aiming for higher. Then suddenly next week, guess what? The price is back at 30 cents. Then what? What do people do then? Shit, I should have sold. I better sell some now. Oh my God, now you get volume and the price comes right back down to back to 16 cents. And then if there isn't enough volume to keep on pushing the price, then at those higher prices, it's going to become very problematic, because then you're going to get people being like, oh, I've been in this token for a long time. I didn't take profit when I should have. Now the price is dropping. I better take profit because I don't want to get stuck. And then you start getting strong downward volume. You have to be aware of that. Like, don't just assume that this is going to go up to $5. What actually really needs to happen is what I'm suggesting is you go up to a high price, you have a corrective move over a period of time. I don't know where it's going to come. Let's just hypothetically you go up to 95 cents, whatever. Then actually, then there's an opportunity for a gentle correction to come and backtest this like this, you know, depending on how slow or how fast it comes down. And if you see the price find support somewhere like that, then actually what you get is you get people who sold who are looking to buy back in. And so they might have, let's say someone sells the whole stack up there, and they'll be like, oh shit, I can now just spend a quarter of what I sold out, or a third, and get exactly the same tokens, because, well, guess what, I'm still bullish. And so you get volume here, but then you also get volume here, which prevents the price from dropping. And that's really your indicator as to where good places to buy and sell is. Right now, we're not seeing any volume. It's just sideways, and it's a sideways correction or sideways consolidation. Yeah. So no one really knows, but I do think that there are some key levels where the price will find resistance. And for me, initially, I don't really care about higher prices at the moment. I'm focused, I'm honed in at slightly over 20 cents and 85 cents, just based on the 618 and 1-to-1. All right. And that, I think for me, those are really two good areas to either take profit or hold for higher, but actually exit. Yeah. So if you don't take profit at 20 cents, because we are breaking out, and that's true, like you might not, because we are in a multi-year correction. It does seem premature if we start having a nice break here and we start pumping, to just exit there at the all-time high. Although that would be a really nice take profit, but you know, maybe there would be a really good exit, you know. And remember, I'm looking at the log chart. On the normal chart, it's going to look crazy bullish. In the regular chart, when you're looking at the regular chart, like even there on the regular chart would be a good exit, wouldn't it? Would be a good exit. Look, so don't just think just that's a bad exit just because I'm looking at log. But I mean, if this went mental and it just pushed up, then it would look like that, and you would definitely, like, you're not thinking higher, because that already would be a crazy move, wouldn't it? Okay. And then honestly, the higher we go, I'm not sure that, because you're going to come down in a very strong manner as well. I'm not sure that people are going to catch a falling knife when we start coming back down. So even though technically it may be correct to try and backflip or back test something like this, the reality is it may come all the way back down to here. Yeah. And then people who sold at much higher prices will be like, oh shit, I can get exactly the same stack and I've made all this money. And that's how you get higher lows, because people are still bullish. They've sold into the highs of a nice mega pump, and now they can buy more QANX and hold it for the long term because they're still higher time frame bullish, but they've also made a shit ton of money. And so they have, it's the best of both worlds. And that's kind of what we want to see. Continuous higher lows. Even if we get a breakout, we want to see higher lows. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at with QANX at the moment. Okay, I hope that helps. While before in the last stream I wasn't sure about this first wave, I'm just going to continue assuming that I was right, just because of the way it is 618 and the 1-to-1 lines up with those price discovery horizontals that I initially drew last year. And right now we're looking at this move. I'm just looking at this kind of local move now, just kind of having a look at it to see what's going on here. Let me just hide these and this and that. Just have that kind of Elliot wave move here. Let's just say this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it's hard to tell. That 1 was poor, that 4 was nice, 3 was nice. Let's do it to that. But it is a 1-to-1, isn't it? The 1-to-1. Look, it goes right up to there. These fibs look nice, sir. The fibs look correct on this first move. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a 1-to-1. 3 of the 5. We're finding support here on the 3-2, 0 point, sorry, the 382. And then just underneath, you see people have sold into that, huh? Sold into that little pump. We just need to see them buy back in. Let's have a look at the VWAP as well. The VWAP, the anchored VWAP here is important. So as long as we don't lose that anchored VWAP, that's edging up. Maybe we're going to find support here, somewhere here, for another move. Okay, it's a very nice gentle correction here, so I don't mind this correction. It's not like a sell-off, it's a corrective move. So it's a little bit of a flat. It's not a flat, it's a zigzag, but it's a really gentle zigzag, so it's more of a flag. It feels flaggish to me, a little bit of a flag forming here. And so maybe we do go bam, and then we can actually get a real nice push to the upside. That's kind of what I want to see. I want to see what the next move is like. I am expecting up. It may take a little bit of time to play out just because of the way the correction is forming. Don't want to lose this anchored VWAP. You lose that anchored VWAP, then there's a chance that we actually go down much further and to test these lows again. You know, and that's what can always happen. It can always happen. Okay, so that's kind of where I'm at with QANX. If you like my video, just please share it, like it. Give me some comments. I know a lot of people are going to come to me and say, no, you're an idiot, whatever. $15 or something like, I'm going to hold forever. This is like the best. You're right. I'm not necessarily saying you're wrong. Yeah, I'm not judging your opinion, right? I'm just kind of giving context to the next 6 months, to the bull market, to really important key resistance levels in price discovery. Yeah, combined with my Elliot wave analysis, assuming that that was the first wave, very technical analysis, and this this fib extension, which kind of lines up nicely. The 618 lines up and the 1-to-1 lines up in that vicinity, right? And so based on that idea, you know, if you go up, the other thing is you can go up here and reject on a free just like that. Whatever happens though, just this is the good news. If you have a really shit free, the top of this one becomes is an invalidation level. That's kind of where we're at now. So right now we're at the top of this one. So whatever happens, when you buy now, you're kind of buying on a future support level, because that's the top of the one. And so in terms of Elliott waves, the 4 can't come underneath the top of the 1. Yeah, so we are buying on a future, but realistically, if you do go up to hit the all-time high, then you probably won't come back all the way to the top of the 1. You'll probably come back to a breakout level test before we continue. And the continuation 5 could be just to take the highs again one more time, or it could be another extended push. And that's how volume matters. It matters to see what the volume is like. Okay, but obviously this is a higher time frame corrective, so it could take a little bit longer. Yeah, it depends. We have to see how the ideally what you want to see is a more higher volume push with a flat for another push up like this. Ideally that's what you want to see, or you want to see it just push up in 3, and then you have a higher time frame 5, and then you have another push. Like, there's lots of variations of what could happen, but ultimately I think this is the big one. This 3 is the big one. This is the one we're in now. Yeah, this is the one that we've all been waiting for, and this is the one that is a good time to buy, to be in this right now. This 3 of this, we're going to be in the 3 of the 3 effectively. We've had the 1 of the 3. Let's see what the 3 of the 3 looks like. I am looking for 3 distinctive moves. Yeah, not just up, 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 and then that's it. I'm looking for up, 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 correction, up, 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 correction, up, up, up. 3 distinctive moves, because that would make sense, because that's what the 3s are. The 3s are the big ones. All right, that's QANX. If you like this video, share it, like it, whatever. Post your comments. I'll continue looking at this. Like I said, I have a bunch of tokens, and I'm very careful to see what happens next. I mean, I might be tempted to just take profit there, to be honest with you. Even though it may feel a little bit premature, I may be tempted to take profit there and not be greedy. Yeah. And if it goes higher, I can take profit again there. And the great thing is, if you take profit there and it comes back down, then you're laughing, aren't you? You're laughing. Yeah. So it's about risk versus reward. Yeah. All right.